What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay guys, so we're going to cover Spawn number 26 for today's Spawn Sunday video. Now when it comes to Spawn number 26, it's actually more of a one-shot story where we do see Spawn realize that he had to learn a valuable lesson of how to be a hero, or what is a hero. But at the same time though, we also kind of find out that Malebolgia loves the idea of Spawn being a hero. And the reason why, because with Spawn being a hero, Spawn is actually helping Malebolgia build up his army of Hellspawns to attack Heaven down the road. And so that is the moment where we actually do pick up with a character known as Fred. Now when it comes to Fred, you have Fred right now trying to fight against a court case. And what I mean by that is, right now Fred is trying to fight to keep his daughter with him. And the reason why, because when it comes to his stepdaughter, she was actually given to him and his wife in the whole foster care system. But the problem is though, he lost his wife. His wife died. But after her death, he also lost his job and he began to fall apart. And so because of that, you had the court come in and say, listen, we gave you her to basically live with you because we felt like you and your wife could take care of her. But after your wife died, you're now showing us signs that you are unable to actually take care of her. And so it's better for her to go ahead and get removed and live somewhere else. And so of course they say, I'm sorry, you're going to lose your daughter. Now we're going to use Fred as a way to see Spawn actually learn a valuable lesson about being a hero. And so that is the moment where we actually do pick up with Malebolgia. Now when it comes to Malebolgia, you have to remember that he is a devil, not the devil, a devil. And what I mean by that is there are many devils in hell, and Malebolgia is just one of the devils. Now with that being said, you do have Malebolgia right now technically watching over Spawn. Because remember, when it comes to Malebolgia, he's right now trying to build an army of Hellspawns as a way to use it against, of course, the forces of Heaven. And so right now, he's watching over Spawn. And the reason why, because when it comes to Spawns on Earth, they are technically destined to become high-ranking officers in the army of Malebolgia. And so right now, Al Simmons is technically destined to become a high-ranking officer. And so right now, it's Malebolgia watching over Spawn to see how is he going right now on Earth. And so that is the moment where we actually do jump over to Spawn. Now when we do jump over to Spawn, it's him right now being confronted by the Count. Now we actually seen the Count in earlier issues when it comes to Spawn. And matter of fact, he first appeared in Spawn number 9 when Spawn fought against Angela. Now with that being said, this is the Count right now coming to Spawn and saying, hey man, listen, honestly, I think it's about time for you to try to learn more about who you are, or what you are, and why you are so special, and why all these different things keep happening to you. Now you do have the Count say, it all basically started when you accepted the offer from the devil. Not the devil, a devil. Because remember, when he came to Spawn, when he died, he was confronted by Malebolgia. And of course he asked Malebolgia to send him back to Earth so that he'll be able to be with Wanda. Now Malebolgia did that, but of course it was a deal, technically saying, yes, I'll send you back to Earth, but you are going to become my Hellspawn. Now with that being said though, you didn't have the Count say, listen, you are a Hellspawn, and technically you are supposed to be used as a tool by the devil or Malebolgia as a way to attack the forces of Heaven. And sooner or later, they're going to basically use you as a way to attack the forces of Heaven. But technically, you're supposed to become a high-ranking officer in the army of Malebolgia. Now we do jump over to Malebolgia. Now when we do jump over to Malebolgia, you do have Malebolgia technically tell us that even though he knows that Spawn is not really a bad person, he's really hoping that the idea of the darkness inside of Spawn will come out. And when that darkness come out, it will take over Spawn, and then Spawn will become a true evil person. Something that Malebolgia really wants to happen to Spawn. Because again, when it comes to Al Simmons, he is technically destined to become a high-ranking officer in the army of Malebolgia. Now, when it comes to Malebolgia, he also loves the idea of Spawn being a hero. Now, the reason why Malebolgia loves that will be explained later on in this video. But right now, it is Malebolgia realizing that Spawn is looking for answers. Now, yes, he's going to get some answers, but of course, when he does get those answers, it's going to lead to more questions down the road. Now, when we do jump back over to Spawn and also the Count, that is the moment where you do have one of the homeless guys coming over to Spawn to actually talk to him about the idea of Spawn helping out Fred. And remember, we saw Fred earlier in this book, and when it comes to Fred, Fred just lost his daughter. And so right now, this is Fred coming to Spawn and saying, hey man, listen, I heard great things about you. I also heard that you are able to actually help me with different problems. And right now I have a particular problem. I lost my daughter. Now remember, in our last video, this is a Spawn right now who's not trying to actually help anyone out right now. And the reason why, because he told himself, every time I try to help someone, I basically get involved in some crazy mess. But on top of that, it's getting too close to home, aka Terry and Wanda. Because remember, he's right now back on Earth because of Wanda, the woman he loves. Now, even though she had remarried his best friend, he still cares a lot for them. And so right now, it's Spawn saying, I'm not trying to get any more mess before they actually get hurt. And so unfortunately, I'm not trying to help anybody at all. But on top of that, is Spawn saying the homeless people in this area are beginning to rely on me too much. And so with that being said, you have Spawn tell Fred no. Now, right after Spawn did that, you didn't have the Count say, no, they're not getting cocky or just relying on you. You gave them hope. And that right there, Spawn, is actually very, very important. But then we jump back over to Malebolgia. Now, when we do jump back over to Malebolgia, this is Malebolgia right now still watching over Spawn. But this is Malebolgia telling us, the readers, that right now, he's loved what he's seeing right now when it comes to Spawn. And what I mean by that is, even though Spawn right now is a hero and technically taking out bad guys, when he does kill off the bad guys, those souls go to one particular area, hell, and some of those souls go over to the 8th area of hell, which belongs to Malebolgia. And so Malebolgia is saying, yes, Spawn, be a hero, because when you kill those guys off, their souls become mine. And with that, they join my army of hell spawns to be used as a way to fight against the forces of hell. And so technically right now, even though Spawn is right now being a hero, he's still helping out Malebolgia. Now, something else to mention is that once Spawn time is up on Earth, he'll go back down to hell and be with Malebolgia. And so technically right now, Spawn is getting trained, but at the same time is giving Malebolgia a bigger army to use. But that is the moment where we actually do see Spawn go to heaven. Yes, you heard that right. Spawn does go to heaven. And the reason why he was actually transported over to heaven was because of one particular character known as Gabrielle. Now, when it comes to Gabrielle, she's right now technically trying to do something big to another character known as Angela. And matter of fact, Angela will have a mini-series right after this book right here. Unfortunately, we cannot cover it. And the reason why, because I cannot find any copies at all. But on top of that, the reason why, because remember, after a certain period of time, Marvel was able to actually gain the rights of Angela. And so unfortunately, when it comes to Image Comics, they really cannot reprint books of Angela because the rights that belong to Marvel now. Now, with that being said, this is technically right now Gabriella trying to set up Angela. And what I mean by that is, the reason why she brought Spawn over here, because she knows when it comes to Angela's last big battle, it was against Spawn. But then she disappeared and left behind her lance. Now we saw what happened to Spawn when he touched that lance. He was actually teleported somewhere else. But thing is though, when he came back to Earth, the lance was gone. And so right now it seems that Gabrielle wants the lance, but we have no idea why. Now once you have Spawn tell her, hey listen, I have no idea where the lance went to, she said thank you for your help and then sent him back down to Earth. And so we do jump over to Malebolgia one last time for this video. Now when we do, it's technically right now Malebolgia very excited about the idea that now Heaven is involved. And what I mean by that is, with Heaven right now pulling Spawn, is Spawn right now wanting to ask more questions about Hell or Heaven. And when it comes to Malebolgia, he feels like when it comes to Spawn, when he goes around looking for answers, he usually gets in more trouble. And with him getting in more trouble, that means two things. One, his time limit is going to run out, but on top of that, he'll send more people to hell for me to use in my army of hell spawns. And so right now, it's Malebolgia saying, I'm just winning, and Spawn right now is actually losing. And so that is the moment where we actually do jump over to Spawn. Now when we do, it's Spawn right now technically telling a story to the homeless people that he has been protecting. Now of course, the story he's telling right now is how he actually helped out Violator in the Violator miniseries that we did not cover. Now with that being said though, as he tells this story, he realized that the homeless people don't care. And the reason why, because right now they are actually very upset with him. And the reason why they're mad at him right now, because Spawn did not help out Fred. Because when they hand over a newspaper for Spawn to read, Spawn realized what happened to Fred. Fred committed suicide. He killed himself because he lost his wife and then he lost his daughter. And he went to Spawn asking for help, but unfortunately, he did not help. And so because of that, Fred killed himself. And so this is actually a very valuable lesson for Spawn about the idea of just being a hero.